Friends, welcome to part 4 of our video presentation on chapter 13. In this part, we'll continue talking about some of the high level of strategic issues that a senior technology leader has to deal with when managing an IT function. Now, one of the most important areas of responsibility of a senior technology leader is managing business IT relationship. Again, to give you like a bit of background on that, IT has always been viewed as a cost center, as a department that is an outcast among other business departments. There are many reasons for that. Again, I discussed this in my article from the Business Horizons magazine. It has to do with the fact that technology people they have different mentality, different education level, I guess, or different type of education, different relationship building skills, different communication skills. So technology departments always stood apart from the rest of the departments. Now, it was quickly realized by both practitioners and also confirmed by empirical research that lack of good relationship between IT and the overall organization, and by the way, something that is still quite common, is something that stands in the way of a company realizing full potential from their investments in IT. So therefore, a senior technology leader needs to have adequate relationship building skills so that he or she builds adequate relationship between the IT department and the entire organization. So basically it has to do with developing various ways of partnering or establishing this mutually beneficial relationship between IT and organization. So once again, business managers, they must work with IT managers to realize investments in IT resources. In other words, they need to know how IT can support them. IT people needs to get the financial support from business managers. So it's a mutually dependent and mutually beneficial relationship, or at least that's the way it needs to be set up. It's always helpful when technology the role of technology is formalized in a mission statement or some kind of strategic plan of an organization, because that gives the IT department legitimacy, again, at least formal legitimacy with respect to the entire organization. And a strong relationship, or ideal relationship, as I said several times before, an ideal relationship between IT department and the entire organization is viewed as a partnership, where both parties support each other and where IT is viewed as an equal partner in generating revenues or values for shareholders, as opposed to a cost center, a department that just spends organizational wastes or spends organizational money, and the spending needs to be minimized. So building a partnership-like relationship is very important. Well, how do you do it? Well, you can, there are several mechanisms that the senior technology leader can use to build relationships between the IT department and the overall organization. First of all, you can establish formal groups, for example, an IT steering committee, where every executive or representative from each major department or organization unit is included. And this IT steering committee will be participating in developing strategic plans for the entire IT department, approving strategic IT decisions, let's say with respect to IT infrastructure or policies or rules. So that's a formal groups. You can also have formal roles. It's becoming more common across different departments, not just IT department. For example, each department within the organization will get like a dedicated IT person, like a liaison that will support the relationship between the IT department and that particular organizational unit. So, and it's formalized so that there is a face to the IT department. So if something goes wrong, you don't talk about, you don't talk to IT in general, whoever is available. You talk to your coach or your, representative or your dedicated support person. So this seems to improve relationship. And then informal networking practices. You need to, as a senior technology leader, you need to put some effort into encouraging employees to participate in organizational events. So that once again they are viewed as partners, as colleagues, and not as support function. Somebody you call if a computer is not working. So they need to be viewed as strategic partners that work together to accomplish organizational goals. You can also establish some human resource practices, like for example some kind of job rotation where employees from other departments, they take some time to participate in the IT department, so they know better, what it takes to respond to a customer request. I'm talking about like a user requesting some kind of desktop support or troubleshooting. They know more what IT can do or cannot do for you. And, at the most basic level, it's just about communication, about understanding better each other. And then IT personnel will also understand better the other side of the equation, or the other departments that they're supporting. Another essential responsibility of a CIO, Chief Information Officer, or Chief Technology Leader, is managing overall performance of the IT department. Again, it's a vast topic. There are journals devoted to this topic. For example, one journal that I'm collaborating with is called Electronic Journal of Information System Evaluation. It's a UK-based academic journal that exclusively deals with issues related to evaluating performance of the IT department. Again, a lot of things to say here, but just to give you some background, for a long time, various financial models were used to evaluate performance of an IT department. Let's say net present value, internal rate of return, what else? Tobin's Q, it's like a model borrowed from finance. Even Black-Scholes real options formula, again, borrowed from finance. But quickly it was realized that financial models, they don't work well in the context of IT, and here's why. Well, any financial model, of course there are many formulas that are used, there are many assumptions, but at the most basic level, every financial model, it just basically takes revenues and then subtracts cost from revenues to determine profit. Now, when it comes to IT, even determining cost, how much it costs to acquire a particular IT asset is very problematic. For example, you cannot just estimate the cost of the IT department in terms of the purchasing cost of hardware and software and IT personnel. There are ongoing maintenance costs. There are costs that are distributed across other departments because other departments need to invest into learning those new technologies. So even estimating cost is problematic. Now, when it comes to estimating revenues, in other words, the kind of contribution that IT makes to the bottom line, things become even fuzzier. Although, as we said in the very beginning of this presentation, IT has become pervasive, it powers virtually every organizational process, every organizational function. It's really hard to say to what extent, what is the dollar value of that contribution that IT makes. So because of that, financial models, I wouldn't say they were abandoned, but they lost their central role. And instead, companies started using the so-called balanced scorecard approach. Again, balanced scorecard approach or balanced scorecard framework is a huge topic. Some business schools, they offer courses devoted to balanced scorecards. Some consulting companies, including the consulting company of I think it's Norton and Kaplan. Those are the two authors of the original book about balanced scorecards. So those guys, they run a consulting company that is largely based on helping organizations design and implement balanced scorecard models within their organizations. So balanced scorecards is a vast topic, but to summarize what balanced scorecards is all about, it's about that balanced view on performance that takes into account both financial performance, but also soft or intangible factors such as customer satisfaction, innovation and learning, and internal processes. So in other words, those are the things that can hardly be measured with dollars, with any kind of numbers. So in order for your organization, let's say IT organization, to be evaluated as a good performing organization, you need to show that there is some financial return, that you're investing money and you're getting something out of that customers are satisfied. And again, this is not measured in dollars, perhaps it's some kind of customer satisfaction survey. You also need to show that you invest into innovation and learning, because the idea here, if you're overly focused on finance, then you will try to minimize investment in development, learning, research and development, something that will backfire you down the road. So you also need to show that you invest into innovation and learning, and also need to show that you invest into improving your internal processes. So this is like a framework within which performance of individual departments and even organizations can be evaluated. And nowadays, that balanced scorecard approach, which is again a balanced approach to evaluating performance that takes into account both financial measures of performance and qualitative non-financial measures of performance, is very common. Now, at the end, I will talk about I'll give you like a brief summary of some of the issues that large corporations face when they operate globally. Right? So those international issues specifically related to IT. Now, one of the key trade-off, or one of the key issues that executives face when they expand internationally is standardization of IT. And you'll be surprised, because I actually did the research on like one research that I did kind of touch on that. You would imagine that translating IT to a different country involves just like translating interface, but it's not, because different organizations have different laws, they have different practices, they have different assumptions, people have different mentality. So it's not just about translating language from one country to another, from English, let's say, to Spanish. It's not that easy. And because it's not easy, you cannot standardize the IT department, because you, as an executive, as a leader of the central IT function, you may not know the cultural, the country-specific particularities that the IT department in that other country faces. So you may want to decentralize it and delegate it at some, at least at some stage of the development. Some of the common country issues that impact senior technology leaders: country telecommunications infrastructure. Again, this was something discussed in that Natural Springs case that we've been using heavily. In some countries, certain types of real-time networks cannot be implemented because the telecommunications infrastructure is poor. Then there are legal and security considerations. Something that is done in one country cannot be done in another country, or some of the legal mechanisms that protect privacy or copyright laws that are present in one country are not present or not enforced in another country. So that will require you doing some changes to the way you operate and manage your IT infrastructure. Language and culture is the simple one, I guess. Well, language is the simple one when you translate one thing from another, but culture is the complicated one. For example, in some cultures, employees prefer doing business face-to-face. They don't like to have any kind of formal records through emails, and that's something that can make a formal system impossible to use. Also, some technologies may interfere with the power relationships. For example, if you're trying to automate decision-making, you may exclude an important senior decision-maker from the decision-making chain, and you will view it as something positive, but in that culture, it would be absolutely no. In other words, you cannot just exclude a senior, well-respected person from the decision-making process, because now the software allows, let's say, the field employees to work directly with the client. And then time zone differences, something that stands in the way of communication. Again, you would imagine it's a simple, you can say, well, we will stay up all night, or they will stay up all night, but it doesn't work that way, because it wears people out, and then you understand that in order for you to get things done in that other country, you need to constantly be up. So time zone alone creates sometimes huge problems when it comes to managing IT on a global scale. By no means this list is exhaustive. There are so many other, especially specific issues that needs to be discussed in relation to international technology management. Well, anyways, that concludes part 4 of our video presentation on Chapter 13. Thank you for listening.